Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about the cards that I think should be unbanned in Modern. I've talked a lot about these cards individually. I've talked about a lot of cards that I think should be banned, which we're going to sort of ignore. But in general, I am mostly in favor of the unbanning of cards. Give us an opportunity to play with as many cards as possible, as long as they don't totally destroy the format. So these are 5 cards that I think have the possibility of being unbanned and it actually being okay. First one, and I've talked about this a lot, Deathrite Shaman. Deathrite Shaman is a 1 mana either black or green 1/2 elf shaman. You can tap it to exile target land from a graveyard, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. You can pay 1 black and tap it to exile an instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Each opponent loses 2 life. Or you can tap a green to tap it and exile target creature card from a graveyard. You gain 2 life. So the reason this card is good is because it's a 2 toughness mana dork for 1 mana. And in Modern, there are almost always land cards in graveyards because they're fetch lands. It is naturally good against anything that uses the graveyard to have any sort of synergies, because its other abilities are graveyard synergies. And it's good in the mid and late game where you can dump your extra mana into making your opponent lose 2 life, making you gain 2 life, etc., etc. And it was just so much power for so little mana. People compared it to the power level of a 1 mana planeswalker, which I think is exaggerated a little bit, but not a lot. The reason I think this card would be fine to be unbanned is that in the sense of Modern as we speak, this is a fair card. Now, don't get me wrong, it's very powerful and will be played, but it's fair. What's the best deck that this would go into? Jund midrange, which is not good right now anyway. Might make Yawgmoth a little bit better, which has been floating between tier 1 and tier 2 for a while. It'd probably be put into Omnath too, now that I think about it. But that's kind of it, and I seriously doubt any archetypes would be made on the back of this. It would just make those archetypes a little bit stronger. And I don't think we should ban cards out of scam. Let's make other archetypes stronger, and I think we can do that with, frankly, a fair card like Deathrite Shaman. The second card I wanted to talk about is probably my favorite card on the Modern ban list because it qualified me for my first Pro Tour, is Birthing Pod. Birthing Pod is 3 generic and 1 Phyrexian green, is an artifact, and you can pay 1 generic and 1 Phyrexian green and tap it to sacrifice a creature, and search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So when this deck was good, effectively what it was is it would play a bunch of persist creatures and undying creatures and Restoration Angel to reset those persists and undying creatures. So you could pod a Kitchen Finks, for example, away. It come back, you gain 2 life, grab a Restoration Angel, bounce Kitchen Finks, you gain 2 life, and the pod is reset. You could also use Birthing Pod to toolbox your deck, but really the reason Birthing Pod got banned was Siege Rhino. Rather than Birthing Pod being a kind of combo-y deck and a toolboxy deck, and it was hard to deal with because they just had so many answers and stuff, it then became just a power level deck. People were going turn 3 Kitchen Finks into Siege Rhino, next turn untapping Pod, podding Kitchen Finks into Restoration Angel, bounce Siege Rhino, trigger again. It's absolutely disgusting. But to be totally real with you, in the context of current Modern, it doesn't seem that powerful to me anymore. And while it would create a brand new archetype, and a lot of cards have been printed, Birthing Pod's definitely one of those cards that get more powerful as more cards are printed, because you have more things in your toolbox and more combos you can do. I think it would be a cool combo toolbox card to challenge the top decks right now. And it might not even challenge the top decks, because 3 mana is a lot for a card that doesn't do anything the turn it comes on the battlefield, unless you have even more mana. The next card is Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time is 1 generic and 1 green, is an instant. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. And if the spell is the first spell you've cast this game, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. I frankly like any card that makes decks more consistent. Yes, this is a little color restrained, and cards like Ponder might be a little bit scary because they can set up stuff. But this just makes green decks more consistent. So it would be played in Yawgmoth, maybe Omnath. There's really no decks in Modern right now that is not green that you would play Once Upon a Time. But making decks more consistent and be able to play their game more often, I think is a positive, especially since Once Upon a Time I don't think would be pushing any of these decks over the top. The fourth card I want to talk about is Seething Song. Seething Song is 2 generic, 1 red, is an instant. Add 5 red mana to your mana pool. The reason this card was originally banned is because Storm became just too powerful. Storm is awful now. Storm is maybe tier 3, if you ever see it. And I think cool combo decks like Storm that have a lot of redundancy keep decks in check. They make decks play sideboard cards that can like beat it. So I think they should unban Seething Song, make Storm a little bit stronger, shake up the meta. I really have nothing to say about that. Let's make a tier 3 deck a little bit stronger. And then the last card, and I've talked about this a lot, Splinter Twin. Splinter Twin is 2 generic, 2 red, so 4 mana total, enchantment, aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has tap, put a token that's a copy of this creature onto the battlefield. That token is haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. The reason this card is good is when you put it on a card like Deceiver, Exar, or Pestermite, a creature that when they enter the battlefield, you can untap something, that can create infinite tokens. So you have Deceiver Exarch, you put Splinter Twin on it, use Splinter Twin's ability, get another Deceiver Exarch, untap the original Deceiver Exarch, tap the original Deceiver Exarch, get another Deceiver Exarch, etc., infinitely. Boom. My thing about this, though, is that Splinter Twin, while it can end up being an unfun combo, just dying on turn 4 kind of sucks, there is so much hand hate, so much counter magic, and such amazing removal that exists in Modern right now. There's no reason a combo deck like Splinter Twin shouldn't exist. I think, from my experience in old school Modern with Splinter Twin, what made Splinter Twin fun is that it made you play weirdly against the deck, and you use almost like a mind game situation. It's like, do they have the twin? Do they have the Deceiver Exarch? I have to play in this way where I leave some mana up so I can interrupt the combo. Or sometimes you just went for it and crossed your fingers, and I thought that was really fun. And then as the twin player, you're like trying to figure out how you should play out hands. How do you bluff stuff? How do you play in a way that makes them think you have the twin? And I thought that was a really fun mind game thing to happen. And removal is even better now, and this card just gets worse with removal. Unban Splinter, please. But overall, those are my opinions on 5 cards that I think could be safely unbanned in Modern. If you like videos like this and want to see more videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Also, if you're interested in sideboard guides and other goodies, check out my Patreon. That link is above me and in the description as well. I would really, really appreciate it. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.